Hi there, Nigel Misha here. In this video, we're going to be discussing what I believe is a myth around AI replacing developers by the end of this year. What I believe is going on is that these AI companies, they're selling their tools and making people believe that there's not going to be need for any software engineers or web developers and such, because they believe that their tools are going to be great at doing this job. Whilst I believe that they are going to improve, and they are improving, I see a great difference between when we were at the first ChatGPT to where we are now with tools like O3 Mini and Claude 3.5 Sonnet. I see a great difference in terms of what these tools are capable of doing right now, and they have improved quite well. However, I would like to mention that domain specific knowledge is always going to be important. It's always going to be important for you to know the fundamentals, the basics of programming, in order to allow you to prompt these tools to work in your favor as best. When I say in your favor, just say more effectively than someone who doesn't have the domain specific knowledge can actually get this tool to actually work for them. I would like to give an example of tools such as Photoshop, which have been here for quite a while. And in Photoshop, you'd have seen images over the years. You've seen images that are capable of being produced using tools such as that. However, it's not everyone that can produce these type of images, despite the software being tremendous, it being capable of doing crazy things. It's those with the skill, those with the understanding in the domain of using Photoshop that have the capability of producing amazing work, whilst someone that has no knowledge in this area can have the same software. They just simply won't compete with someone who has domain specific knowledge. So going back to the area of software development, web development, it is essential for you to know the basics of programming in order to be able to use these tools to work for you as great as they can work for you. Why? They're called language models, and them being called language models means that they work with language, and the most ambiguous language there is natural language, the language that we speak as humans to each other, which we have allowed now computers to understand. Whilst we have gotten computers to that stage, they will only understand us to a degree. They won't truly understand what we're saying. Just as humans, as we are communicating with each other, we sometimes don't understand what we are saying to each other. There's a lot of missed communication when we are talking to each other, because someone else is coming with their background of wherever they're coming from and their life experiences, communicating with someone else who comes from somewhere else with their references. But as we're trying to do this communication, sometimes we miss each other's points. And that is the exact thing that I would like to address in this video, to say that having domain specific knowledge is essentially grounding in knowledge and understanding, having certain references of that domain. For example, this could be in any type of domain. If you'd like to be an expert in physics and psychology, in English literature, or anything that you can be an expert in, it's essential for you to continue to learn these things. So whilst there's a bit of panic that is going on at this point, that these AI tools are coming to take people's jobs and etc., I'd like to address that we are always going to be the inputter of the information. We are the thought behind the idea that the AI is going to process and produce results. My university AI teacher always wanted us to understand that we're the intelligence behind these tools. Whilst yes, they are very amazing at doing what they do, doing the calculations they need to do, and work out whatever is needing to be worked out. We can't miss the fact that they are essentially tools that we are creating to do certain jobs effectively. However, that effectiveness varies because of the difference in person given the information, how effectively they can do it. So without domain specific knowledge, I'll give examples. For example, in programming, in web development, we have these three basic languages, I might say, for developing a website. We have HTML, we have CSS, and we have JavaScript. So these languages, they have direct references that they have that the user needs to be able to understand in order to get, if you're using an AI tool, for it to know exactly what you're saying, for it to actually produce exactly the results that you're requiring to produce. I'll give an example. On a platform that I use called WebSim, there's a great deal of people that are using the platform. They're ranging from experts in developing websites all the way to people that have never made websites but have discovered that they can do this using words to create some websites. But I see a great difference always in someone who knows what they're doing. They know that they've got domain specific knowledge and they are able to produce websites that are more, they look better and they function much better. So it goes from someone who's just able to create a mediocre software app website to someone that can actually produce something that is actually functional, that is appealing to look at, and so on. So the difference here is that someone who has more knowledge in web development, they know the references to use, they know the right words, they know how to deal with problems when they arise, they know what certain problems look like if a website is misbehaving in a certain way. They know how to talk to the AI model to say that, for example, the loop is not working well, perhaps it's overlooping, so can you decrease the number of loops that are having to be done here to a specific number, because you have the knowledge of understanding that there is a loop going on when a certain button is clicked. But how is a person that has no knowledge of JavaScript function, of programming at all, going to know that there are loops involved and reference that thing? They're not going to know this. So this can go from just, for example, you create a website and now you have your menu and that menu has some text in it. How do you reference, for example, particular items? As I'm even speaking to you guys in this video, I'm actually using certain terminologies that I would use when I'm prompting to create a menu. I know that the list contains items in the menu and we call these things items. I know that we have references such as drop down that we can have in this menu. We have, when it's on a mobile, we have a menu called a hamburger menu, because it's that stack icon. It's called a hamburger. How do I know this? Because I have domain specific knowledge in this field. I understand these terminologies. I understand that if I want my website to be able to be viewed on mobile, as well as it can be viewed properly optimized on a desktop, I use certain terminologies such as responsiveness. And this is something that if I communicate this to an AI tool, then it understands how to create this using this knowledge that it also has, but using those words directly communicates to it what it needs to do. I had a realization one time. I was trying to communicate something about a database, trying to say that, oh, just find this website link and on this column and this row, but you're over explaining things when you use a natural language. But there's a language that is created to actually be able to prompt databases to talk about databases better, and that is called SQL. So that made me realize that we're still needing to understand this domain-specific language, and ambiguity is very much still existing here, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, because there is always going to be preference that we have, things that we want to describe accurately from our thought that we have, the ideas that we have, that are not just going to be easily communicated in one sentence, that are not going to be easily communicated in a huge paragraph that I can create in natural language, but more formal language that is existing, that the AI model is aware of, is needed for the prompter to use, for that AI model to understand properly what we're trying to say. So I just wanted to say to you guys that if you're going to be making websites using AI tools, just learn your basics, learn your HTML. Kids, don't stop going to school because you're hearing these things about AI going to overtake jobs and so on. Even in the space of creativity, when you want to be effective in creativity, you're going to need to know this domain-specific knowledge. And lastly, I wanted to encourage all people in different domains. So if you're going to be doing your psychology, if you're going to be doing your English literature, if you're going to be doing your accounts or whatever, learn those things, learn that domain-specific knowledge, because it is you that is going to be able to communicate to these AI tools effectively what you're requiring to be communicated. And companies are going to be requiring people like you still, because as much as they think that these AI tools are going to replace experts, that is far from the truth, because your expertise, your understanding to communicate to these tools using your experience is going to be still just as much required. So set yourself apart from the crowd. Make yourself the expert that they will require, whilst everyone else is sleeping and deciding not to learn things because they think the AI is going to be doing things for them. I want to encourage you guys to keep learning. Programmers, guys, people that want to get into programming, get into it. Learn your references, learn your CSS, learn your JavaScript, learn your C#, learn your whatever.